I used to stand in my kitchen staring at a pile of vegetable scraps, thinking it would take months before I could harvest anything worth eating from my garden. Turns out, I was dead wrong. There are at least 7 vegetables you can grow from seed to harvest in under 30 days. Some in as few as 20. And once I figured that out, it completely changed how I think about what goes into my garden and when. Today, I'm walking you through all 7 of these speed demons. And I've arranged them so that the last one on this list is the vegetable that genuinely transformed how I plan my entire growing season. I spent years overlooking it, and when I finally gave it a real shot, I could not believe how much food I was pulling out of a single raised bed in less than a month. Plus, after we get through all 7, I have got a bonus technique I stumbled onto almost by accident that lets you stagger these fast growers. So you are harvesting something fresh every single week without ever running out of garden space. So let us dig in. Here is the principle that ties all of these vegetables together, and it took me an embarrassingly long time to understand it. Fast-growing vegetables are not shortcuts or consolation prizes for impatient gardeners. They are biologically designed to sprint through their life cycle, which means they convert sunlight, water, and nutrients into edible food more efficiently per day than almost anything else you can grow. Once I stopped treating them as filler crops and started giving them the same attention I gave my tomatoes and peppers, my harvests doubled practically overnight. These are the workhorses of a productive kitchen garden, and here is what I have learned works best, starting with something most of us completely overlook. The first one I want to share is one I discovered almost by accident after I completely botched a spring planting a few years back. I had a raised bed that was supposed to be full of transplants, but a late frost wiped everything out, and I was left with empty soil and a bruised ego. So I grabbed a packet of radish seeds, honestly just to feel like I was doing something, and 25 days later, I was pulling beautiful, crisp cherry bell radishes out of the ground. That experience taught me that radishes are hands down the fastest vegetable most home gardeners can grow. You sow them directly into the soil about half an inch deep, space them roughly 1 inch apart in rows that are 6 inches apart, and in as few as 20 to 25 days, you have got a harvest. The key detail most people miss is thinning. Once the seedlings are about 1 inch tall, thin them so each plant has at least 2 inches of breathing room. If you skip that step, and believe me, I skipped it plenty of times, you end up with all leaf and no root. The radish bulb just never develops properly because the plants are competing for the same tiny patch of soil. One more thing, radishes prefer cooler weather. So if you are in zones 7 through 9, plant them in early spring or fall rather than midsummer. The heat will make them bolt and turn woody and bitter faster than you can blink. Now, that brings me to something that pairs beautifully with radishes, both in the garden and on the plate. Baby lettuce, specifically loose-leaf varieties like black-seeded Simpson or red sales, can go from seed to salad bowl in as little as 21 days if you are harvesting at the baby leaf stage. I used to make the mistake of waiting for full heads to form, which takes 50 to 60 days, and half the time, my lettuce would bolt before it ever got there, especially in warmer weather. The moment I switched to a cut and come again approach, everything changed. You scatter the seeds densely, about 1/4 inch deep, across a bed or even a wide container. When the leaves reach 3 to 4 inches tall, you take clean scissors and snip them about 1 inch above the soil line. The plant regrows and you can get 3, sometimes 4 harvests from a single sowing. I get asked all the time how much seed to use, and my answer is about 1 gram of seed covers roughly 1 square foot for a nice thick planting. That is enough to keep salads on your table for weeks. But here is something I wish someone had told me early on, and it connects directly to the next vegetable on this list. Spinach is another crop that thrives in that same cool weather window, and if you pick the right variety, you can be eating tender baby spinach in as few as 25 to 28 days. The variety that changed the game for me is called Corvair. It is bred for baby leaf production, it has excellent disease resistance, and it handles a light frost without flinching. Plant the seeds about half an inch deep, 1 inch apart, in rows spaced roughly 4 to 6 inches apart. Spinach germinates best when soil temperatures are between 45 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit, so early spring and fall are your golden windows. I will be honest, I struggled with spinach for a couple of seasons because I kept trying to grow it in summer heat, and it would bolt almost immediately. The leaves would get tough, bitter, and completely inedible. Once I accepted that spinach is a cool season crop, period, no exceptions, my success rate went through the roof. Now, before we move on, I want to pause for just a moment. If you are enjoying these tips and you want the complete system behind everything I share, I put together something called the 30-Day Kitchen Scrap Garden Protocol. It is a 171-page guide that covers 31 regrowable crops, a $10 starter kit so you do not have to spend a fortune getting going, zero-waste kitchen strategies, and full troubleshooting support for when things do not go as planned. Because trust me, they will not always go as planned. You can grab it at backyardbuddybooks.com, just scan the QR code on screen, or click the link in the description. It is $17, and honestly, it is the guide I wish I had when I started all of this. All right, let us keep going because we have still got some real game changers coming up. So the next one took me a while to appreciate, and that is entirely my own fault. Green onions, or scallions, are one of the fastest and most forgiving crops you can grow, and yet I ignored them for years because I thought they were boring. What finally changed my mind was reading a study out of the University of Georgia Extension program that showed green onions are one of the most nutrient-dense crops per square foot per day of growing time. You can direct sow seeds about 1/4 inch deep, half an inch apart, and start snipping the green tops in as few as 21 days. The white bulb takes closer to 50 or 60 days. But if you're just after those flavorful green tops for soups, stir-fries, and garnishes, 3 weeks is all you need. And here's where it gets even better for anyone interested in reducing kitchen waste. If you save the root ends from store-bought green onions and stick them in a glass of water on your windowsill, you will have new growth in about a week. Transfer those rooted ends to soil, and you are harvesting again in another 2 weeks. I do this constantly now, and it is one of those little wins that makes you feel like you have cracked some kind of gardening code. This next one is a personal favorite of mine, and I think it might surprise a few of you. Arugula, sometimes called rocket, is one of the fastest leafy greens you can grow, often ready in just 20 to 25 days at the baby leaf stage. I first tried arugula after a neighbor gave me a handful of seeds and told me to just scatter them and forget about them. I thought there was no way it could be that easy, but it basically is. Sow the seeds about 1/4 inch deep, spacing them 1 inch or 2 apart, and keep the soil consistently moist. Arugula germinates in as little as 3 to 5 days in soil temperatures around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is remarkably fast. The peppery flavor of young arugula leaves is something you just cannot replicate with store-bought. And I say that as someone who used to buy those pre-washed bags without a second thought. One thing I have learned is that arugula bolts quickly in heat, even faster than lettuce, so treat it as a spring and fall crop. If you are in a warmer zone, give it some afternoon shade, and you can push the season a bit further. But do not fight the heat too hard. I tried that for 2 summers and lost every time. Now, the next one on this list is something I actually learned about from an old extension bulletin I found at a used book sale, and it made me feel a little foolish for never trying it sooner. Turnip greens, not the turnip root itself, but the leafy tops, are ready to harvest in as few as 20 to 25 days when picked young. Most people think of turnips as a root vegetable that takes 45 to 60 days, and that is true for the bulb. But the greens are incredibly nutritious, packed with calcium, vitamins A, C, and K, and they grow fast in cool weather. Sow the seeds about a 1/4 inch deep, 1 to 2 inches apart, and start cutting the outer leaves when they are 4 to 6 inches tall. The variety topper is specifically bred for green production rather than root development, so if greens are your goal, that is the one to look for. I started interplanting turnip greens with my radishes a couple of seasons ago, and the combination works beautifully. The radishes are ready first, and by the time you pull them out, the turnip greens have filled in the space. It is like a relay race in your raised bed, and your soil never sits empty. All right, this last vegetable is the one I told you about at the very beginning, and it is the one that honestly changed how I approach my entire growing season after years of basically spinning my wheels. With slower crops, microgreens. And before you say anything, yes, I know microgreens might sound like a trendy restaurant thing and not a real garden crop. I thought the exact same thing for years, and I was completely wrong. Microgreens are simply young vegetable seedlings harvested 7 to 14 days after germination, when they have developed their first set of true leaves. You can grow them from the same seeds you would use for full-sized plants: broccoli, kale, sunflower, pea shoots, radish, mustard. The list goes on and on. What makes microgreens a genuine game changer is the research behind their nutritional value. A landmark study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry out of the University of Maryland found that microgreens contain 4 to 40 times the concentration of vitamins and nutrients compared to their mature counterparts. 4 to 40 times. When I read that number, I almost could not believe it, so I started growing them myself to see what the fuss was about. Here's exactly what I do. I take a shallow tray about 1 to 2 inches deep, fill it with a thin layer of moistened potting mix, or even a dampened paper towel for some varieties. Spread the seeds densely so they are nearly touching, mist them lightly, and cover the tray for the first 2 to 3 days to encourage germination. Then I uncover them. Give them a sunny windowsill or a simple grow light for about 12 hours a day, and within 7 to 14 days, I am harvesting with scissors. The flavor is intense, the nutrition is off the charts, and you do not even need a garden bed. You can grow them year-round on a kitchen counter. This is what finally made me realize that fast-growing food is not a compromise. It is a superpower. I now grow a fresh tray of sunflower and pea shoot microgreens every single week, and they have become a staple in my meals. If you are not growing microgreens, start with sunflower or pea shoots. They are the easiest, the most forgiving, and they produce the biggest, most satisfying greens. Use about 1 ounce of seed per standard 10 by 20 inch tray. Soak sunflower seeds overnight before planting, and you will be eating them in 10 to 12 days. Now that we have gone through all 7, I want to talk about a few common mistakes I see people make with fast-growing vegetables, and I am going to be honest, I made every single one of these myself before I learned better. The first one is planting too much at once and then having everything ready at the same time. I used to sow an entire bed of radishes in one go, and 3 weeks later I had more radishes than my family, my neighbors, and my coworkers could eat. The better approach is succession planting. Sow a small batch every 7 to 10 days, and you will have a steady, manageable harvest instead of a one-time avalanche. The second mistake is underwatering during germination. Fast-growing seeds need consistent moisture in those first critical days. I used to water once and then forget, and my germination rates were terrible. Now I check moisture daily until I see seedlings emerge, and my success rate is dramatically better. A simple spray bottle is all you need for small plantings. The third one is ignoring soil nutrition for quick crops. Because these vegetables grow so fast, people assume they do not need much fertility. But the opposite is true. A fast metabolism means they are pulling nutrients from the soil at a rapid pace. I always mix in about 1 inch of quality compost before each planting, and the difference in leaf size, flavor, and overall vigor is unmistakable. And the fourth mistake is not harvesting on time. Fast growers do not wait around for you. If you leave radishes in the ground too long, they crack and turn pithy. If you let lettuce and arugula go an extra week in warm weather, they bolt and turn bitter. Set a reminder on your phone if you have to. I am not too proud to admit that I have calendar alerts for my radish harvests, and it works. Now here's that bonus technique I promised you at the beginning. This one came to me after about a season of experimenting, and it is what I call relay planting in a single container. Instead of dedicating separate beds to each fast-growing crop, I use one large container, at least 18 inches wide and 8 inches deep, and I plant in concentric rings. The outermost ring gets radishes since they will be harvested first, around day 20. The next ring in gets baby lettuce or arugula, and the center gets green onion sets or microgreens. As I harvest the outer ring, I immediately resow, and the whole container becomes a rolling, self-renewing salad garden. In a single 30-day cycle, I have pulled 3 different types of fresh vegetables from one pot on my patio. The key is using a quality potting mix with good drainage and feeding with a diluted liquid fertilizer, something like a fish emulsion at half strength once a week. So, let me leave you with this. Everything I walked through today, the 7 vegetables, the common mistakes, even that relay planting trick, they are all individual pieces of a bigger puzzle. If you want the complete picture, my 30-day kitchen scrap garden protocol lays it all out in one place. It is 171 pages covering 31 crops you can regrow, a $10 starter kit breakdown so you are not spending money you do not need to, 0 waste kitchen strategies that tie your cooking and your gardening together, and complete troubleshooting for every common problem you will run into. You can get it at backyardbuddybooks.com. Just scan the QR code on screen or check the link in the description. It is $17, and it is genuinely the system I use myself every single day. I think you will love it. You know, when I started this, I honestly believed that fast harvests meant small harvests and lesser quality. 7 vegetables and a whole lot of humbling mistakes later, I can tell you that is simply not true. These crops are some of the most rewarding things I have ever grown. I would love to hear which one you are going to try first, or if you have a fast-growing favorite I did not mention, drop it in the comments. Happy gardening, and I will see you in the next one.